Good morning, guys. I am Patty Elhoff. I am the author of Upcycle with Decoupage, available on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Scobie Books, and at a show that I'm doing this week just outside of Princeton. This video is not going to be too long, and I'm only doing one video this week because of that show, and I'd like to show you how to decoupage on a rock or a stone. There's a few steps you need to take, and this used to be this. So why not, like they used to paint rocks and stones back in the day, why not decoupage over the rock or the stone? And these are actually going to go in this indoor garden that I have in the bay window in our house, because there's just so much green over there. During the winter it's all plants, 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 which is very pretty, but I'd like to add a little spark, a little color. I may even add some glitter. But for today, let me tell you what we'll need to get this done. You'll need a rock or a stone. You're going to need an old junk pot or pail, because I boil these. Napkins of your choice. Find the prettiest napkins you can. If you go over to my website at upcyclewithdecoupage.vpweb.com, you can find some links to these exact napkins. Just go on over to my blog where all my videos are, and there are links everywhere to take you to places where you can buy these and find these and other pretty napkins. Gesso, any type of gesso that you like. Decoupage glue. Going to be using a top coat. I'm using a very high gloss because these will be on the ground and I want them to really stand out. You are going to want one of these brushes that you can normally find in the hardware store. They're probably in the craft store too, because the rock is very rough. And you're going to want either a sponge brush or this artist's brush, a flat one. I actually prefer these because the rocks have little pits in them, and when we're all done we want to be able to make sure we get into those. And you'd want at least, whether you're using this brush or this one, a sponge brush, it's okay to use a sponge brush. You're going to want at least two of each, but you still want this one for our first step. We're going to need some saran wrap. Just junky dollar store stuff is the best type. And a bowl of water. So first, boil this for 10 or 15 minutes, that'll be fine. Once you're done boiling your rock and it's cooled off, we're going to put a coat of the gesso on it. And that's to seal it. There's all types of tiny microscopic holes in here. Once the gesso dries, we're going to move on to decoupaging. A couple of things to do while that gesso is drying. Just take the napkins and tear off these hard edges. And by hard, I mean anything that's perfectly straight like that. And we're not going to separate the napkin this time. We don't have to do that. You know how sometimes when we're working with napkins, we tell you to pull these apart. We're not going to do that. So tear off the hard edges. You'll notice that one edge of your napkin tears right off like that in a smooth line. And then one other edge only comes off in little pieces like that. So a good trick for that is to take a nice narrow brush. You could use the sponge brush for this part too though. Dip it in the water. Just go down the very edge like that, so that when you tear it, it all comes off. Or for the most part it comes off all at once. I am going to finish my original rock, so sorry if I'm switching papers on you, but the instructions are just the same. We're going to take the napkin parts that we've torn, and I did a dry run. I wanted to see how the napkin would fit best. where I could cover the rock and where I could overlap it. So I just placed it down first. And I also tore a sheet of the saran wrap. And you want to take your decoupage glue. And we definitely want to use this brush, the chip brush for this. And put decoupage glue over the surface, the edges, and the sides. Then we want to take our napkins, and you want to kind of pull them a little tightly. This is another good reason why we didn't separate the plies or the layers. You want to pull them a little tight as you're laying them down. And then just gently press down. Just gently. Be careful if you drag your fingers across, that can easily tear the napkin. Then we want to take our water. I'm just going to drip some water on here. You can even use your sponge brush. Now normally I have a sprayer, and you can use the sprayer, but I found this works just as well. And I'm just kind of tapping it. Then we want to take the sheet of saran wrap and lay it over, and then we can press down. Once we've got the rock all covered in the napkin, you can let this air dry. It's quite wet, so it will take a while to dry. If you've got a very dry room in the house, I'd suggest putting it in there. Or if you can put it in direct sunlight in a very dry room, you could put it in there. I always set my oven to 175 degrees. I put this in the cold oven, and I have an electric oven. I don't know if that matters. Turn it to 175. When the alarm goes off, I turn the oven off, but I leave this in there for a half an hour. So I've done that with the other napkin. I'll now place this one in there, the other rock rather, and the other one should have dried by now. And I am switching back to the other rock while the shell-themed rock is drying. We overlapped on the side of these rocks, and if we take the sponge brush and just wet it along the edge, this will tear away pretty easily. But any nail file, and you need a very coarse nail file, you can just go right along the edge, and that'll make a perfectly clean edge and come right away for you. Just for the sake of this video though, I wanted to add the top coat to this. I'm going to use a high gloss top coat, and I'm also going to use some glitter on this. Start out with a smattering of the glitter. Oopsie. And so here is what the completed rock will look like once I file away these edges. And we went from just having a plain ugly slate rock piece of gray stone to something that looks so pretty. and I can lay it flat in the garden area over there. And this is how the other one is looking. There's no top coat on this one yet, that side. This side does have a top coat, and you can see there's two totally different looks to it. If you want, you can just put a plain old flat top coat on here, no glitter. It's all up to you, whatever your preference is. But if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask me. I am always so grateful to you guys who subscribe, who make comments. I'm all too happy to help. And once again, I will see you next week. Once my show is out of the way, I should be making a lot more videos. So have fun, guys. And don't forget, you can do these for Halloween. You can make Halloween decorations, Thanksgiving, especially Christmas. There are tons of beautiful Christmas napkins out there. And why not take something like a rock, a stone, a piece of slate, and pretty it up. All right, guys. Thanks again. Bye-bye.